welcome back to the 2022 Halloween Spooktackular. I have witnessed Ghostbusters 2016, or Ghostbusters Answer the Call for the first time.
Which is it? I call it Answer the Call because I don't want to call it.
I don't know. I mean, the opening credits said Ghostbusters, then the end credits said Ghostbusters Answer the Call, so I have no idea. The movie doesn't even know. Yeah, this one stars Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, and Kristen Wiig as the Ghostbusters in this, and Chris Hemsworth is their secretary.
He's Janine.
Essentially.
If Janine was an idiot.
Essentially. This was my first viewing experience of this movie. You have seen this movie before.
I saw it once before in theaters, because as a Ghostbusters fan, I felt like I have to see it in theaters. So I did. And I didn't really like it back then, and I think I liked it even less this time.
Yeah. Look, it's not the worst thing ever made. Like, people are going to make it out to be. Like, I went into this movie with that mindset. Because I had heard... Because, like, even though you had told me that it wasn't the worst thing ever, like, I had that mindset because so many people on the internet tell you a specific thing, or it's like, no, it is the worst thing ever, and a lot of the criticism is because it's women, which is stupid.
Yeah, it's impossible to talk about this movie without addressing the fact that there was such a controversy around this movie back in 2016. That a lot of it was extremely toxic, like
it was
unwarranted, like straight up sexist stuff. For sure. But like, it doesn't change the fact that when it comes down to it, after all said and done, the movie isn't good.
Yeah, and it's the problem. And I think the reaction for this movie too, from the director, the stars itself, like, I feel like they don't realize that, like, yeah, that's a good portion of the hate, like that stuff. But I also don't think that they realize that, like, the other people that don't like the movie really don't like it because it's not that funny. Yeah, I did find it to be a little bit boring, honestly. And it just didn't feel like it captured the spirit of Ghostbusters. Like, it felt like it was throwing stuff from the original two movies in your face to remind you just how much better those two movies were.
Right, like, here are the actors, but we're not going to let them play.
That was the thing that pissed me off the most.
That's, I think, honestly, one of the biggest faults of this movie. Yeah. That they could have... That might have not maybe fixed
like, why did, like,
improved it. If this had been a legacy sequel, where they passed the torch to these women, I feel like that would have been more accepted than we're completely rebooting everything. Right. Those don't exist, but we're going to bring the actors back in shitty roles.
Right. Like, well, like bringing Ernie Hudson back as Leslie Jones's uncle. Like, okay, like, that's fine. Yeah. But why wasn't he Winston?
Right. Yeah. It would have been more interesting. Like, say Leslie Jones's character, like, Winston has since retired from being a Ghostbuster and passes it down to her. Right. So you could do something like that. You could do, like, what eventually Afterlife did so well was it took a new generation, passed the torch, let us say goodbye.
Like a movie like this should do.
To the old characters. Yes. Whereas this was like, even the trailers for this, I remember, were misleading. Yeah. It was like 30 years ago, 4 scientists, and it made it sound like it was going to be about that. Exactly. But then it was like, no, we're actually just disregarding all that.
Thank God they didn't bring back Ghost Harold Ramis.
They wouldn't have.
They wouldn't have even had him play Egon.
They wouldn't have handled it.
They would have been like, "This is just some random Harold Ramis."
They just capture some Harold Ramis ghost.
I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of the villain of this movie either.
You didn't like Rowan? The
I don't even know his name. He's just some random.
I mean, he's
geek.
He's a geek. You got the God Gozer. Yeah. You got a super duper magical sorcerer ghost in Vigo. Yeah. Then you just got a loser.
Who kills himself to become a ghost and then unleashes the ghost apocalypse.
And becomes the logo, but evil.
Yes. Exactly.
Which I actually kind of like that visual. It was like a riff.
It is a little scary, but it's the same thing as the Stay Puft.
Yeah, it's a riff on that. Yeah. Which is like, okay.
Which goes back to my point where it's like, they're trying to evoke this imagery that just reminds you of the bigger and better days. Like, when they first show up, when they're first starting their business in this movie, like, they show up at the firehouse, and they're like, no, this won't do. So they go to a Chinese.
Yeah, they didn't need to do that.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you got a hearse for the Ecto-1, you know? It's like, all right, like, we get it, okay, like, Ghostbusters has happened, we don't need to, it was almost like, I don't know, it wasn't like, for me, I guess it was more like reminding us like how much better those movies were, but it was also the movie just kind of slapping me in the face a little bit, where it was just like, okay, forget about that. Like, that doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. So
Yeah, it was. It's one of those where it should have been funnier.
Yeah, but it wasn't funny at all.
The humor too, and I get that comedy has changed and stuff.
Yeah.
But part of the humor of Ghostbusters, like we talked about in those first 2 reviews, is that it's subtle. It's just in the conversation between the characters.
Right.
The problem is this one. It's more slapstick for one thing.
Right. Like I do not need to see Melissa McCarthy turn on a proton pack and be like, "Wow, I'm flying through the air! Help me!"
It's like wrangling a gator. But like all the characters, I feel like in this,
I hate all the characters.
They're all trying to be like really funny.
Yeah,
and that's not.
That's the thing.
The Ghostbusters humor.
All the humor is forced for sure.
Yeah,
yeah. And I didn't like a single one of these characters. I was rooting for Rowan the Ghost to win.
I liked Holtzman all right. I thought she was over the top. But like she was the only one that I thought was trying to do something interesting.
Even then, though, like it felt like an extended Saturday Night Live sketch. For
sure.
And like because you had everybody on there, everybody in that cast was on Saturday Night Live, and then you have like the mayor's assistant who is Cecily Strong, who's also on Saturday Night. So I'm just like, why are we and that's not the type of humor you would
have like gag scenes, which was never a thing in the first.
Oh, dude, the concert scene.
Even like her going up to the restaurant and she's trying to open the door, and they keep going, "Oh, she thinks the window's a door. Oh, she still thinks the window's." I'm like, why do we have like a whole little sequence just about like trying to play a joke too hard?
Right.
Like the first 2 Ghostbusters, there weren't gag scenes like that are built around a joke.
Right.
There was a scene, and then their conversations would be funny.
Right. Like honestly, like I don't even think there's a single joke in any of those Ghostbusters. It's just what they're talking about is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the same way. It doesn't feel like a skit.
Yeah. Like that I think that was my biggest issue when all is said and done, is that I didn't find these actresses funny in the roles, and I really don't find them really funny in any of their Saturday Night Live. So Kate McKinnon a little bit.
That's where I'll disagree. I think
Kate McKinnon. I don't find Melissa McCarthy funny.
Melissa McCarthy has her moments in some things, but I think all 4 of them can be funny.
Right.
I think unfortunately this whole script wasn't.
I also think it would have worked, like not to diss the actors and this group of actresses, but I think it would have worked better if you had somebody like Elizabeth Banks, Emma Stone, Anna Kendrick, like people more along those lines.
But that's the thing with this script, though, they still would have sucked.
Yeah,
you needed those actresses would be great if they had a script that was more like the original.
I think and I think it's because like when I look at these actresses, like because it felt so much like a Saturday Night Live sketch, like an extended sketch. I think that pulled me out of the movie. I was super distracted. Like whereas somebody like Anna Kendrick or Emma Stone, like I can picture them playing a Ghostbuster in a movie like this. And honestly, I was distracted by Chris Hemsworth. Honestly, I think
it's too loud.
because like he just used his like regular voice, and I'm just like, all right, you're Thor with short hair in this movie. That's it.
But Kenny, you didn't like his cat? My cat?
No, the only joke that I thought was funny was the one where he's like, "Oh, it's an aquarium. It's a submarine for fish." Yeah, that was.
It's interesting because I think Chris Hemsworth obviously he can be very funny.
Yeah,
but in this movie he's held back by the fact that the Kevin character is just a dumbass. Like that's just.
And I feel like that's what every guy like. This movie kind of. I don't really like getting into touchy-feely subjects like this, but this movie really plays it off as, like, all men suck and all men are dumb, I feel like. And he was, like, the perfect example of that. Also, I just feel like going off of these actresses, like, being SNL alumni, I also just feel like they're playing cartoon versions of themselves.
It was definitely very cartoony. The whole thing. Like even the ghosts, their designs were like it felt more like the Haunted Mansion or something. It was like more like colorful. Yeah. And like I don't know, it's hard to describe.
Yeah, why are there like neon lights like for
it felt, and if you want to take like a different visual style for Ghostbusters, sure. But like I don't know, it just didn't work. Like it just doesn't work, which is sad. And I think if there had been some sort of legacy sequel, you could have at least had that to like
like I do not need Bill Murray to come in for a scene and be like, I'm a completely different character now. Show me the ghost.
They killed Bill Murray. They threw him out a window. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Another problem with this movie that I have, it was the entire setup. Like the first scene of the movie sets something up.
Yeah, it's a long explanation of this, like, mansion.
Yeah, and then it does nothing with that. So, like, when I was watching it, I was like, okay, like, that's actually a pretty cool setup. I wonder where they're gonna go with that. Like, what's gonna be the ghost? Like, it's gonna be maybe like this, like, haunted mansion type of movie, which probably should have been, you know. but then it just turns out that turns into a subplot that actually leads nowhere. Like that Aldous Mansion, Aldridge Mansion, whatever you want to call it.
And that ghost girl, she disappears and only comes back.
It doesn't even matter in the end.
No,
like. Why was that in the movie? Like, what was the setup of that? What was the point of that? Yeah. It needed a bigger payoff for me. Yeah, that needed to tie in to the villain plan somehow, and it didn't.
I mean, I appreciate some of the ingenuity they had for like some of the new weapons and tools that I do think it's. Ghostbusters it never really has been like an action like thing. So when they have when they have like a huge final battle where they're like shredding ghosts and like shooting ghosts, like punching ghosts, I'm like, as badass as Kate McKinnon was, when the music kicks in and she's like single-handedly like slaughtering ghosts, it just feels counterintuitive to like what Ghostbusters is.
Yeah, out of place.
Yeah, it's like they're not even trying to like trap them. They're like literally just like killing them ghosts. Yeah, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Go piss off, ghost!
And it's just like all the jokes in that part were so cringy where it's like they're like I could picture them running around a green screen,
right?
And Paul Feig being like, okay, say something that's like badass to like a one-liner.
It felt like improv.
Like, she like dragged ghosts and threw them into other ghosts, and Melissa McCarthy's like, yeah, slap shot. And I'm like, cringe.
I was probably on my phone during that. Yeah, no, I didn't like this movie like all that much, honestly. Like, it has a couple of good ideas. Like, I do wish it was a legacy sequel, and I wish it was funnier. There were some things that I thought had potential.
I think they should have focused more on the Abby and whatever her name,
Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig's character's name.
I don't know her
name. They said it a lot. It's blanking already. They should have focused more on that. I feel like I think that.
There was a good dynamic there.
You could have had like, would they have a big moment at the end where it's like, oh, this might have been super impactful.
For sure.
Focus more on that.
Yeah, for sure. They had a good dynamic there. They were like the only two characters that were fleshed out. Everybody else just kind of felt like a cardboard cutout, you know. So I mean, I like some of the ideas. I wish that they had taken those ideas a little bit further.
Are you surprised they're not doing a sequel? And they went back to the original timeline.
And Leslie Jones got mad.
Yeah, are you surprised?
Not at all. Honestly, no. I mean, unfortunately, I do think that it made less money at the box office than anticipated because everybody did already have their mind made up.
Sure.
I think.
I mean, I think it was a mix of that, and then the people that did see the movie, like myself, weren't exactly like impressed. Yeah, so it was like I wasn't going around telling people to go see it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. What would you give this movie?
Oh. I'd say like a D plus maybe.
I'm going C minus on this. Yeah, this is stale popcorn for me.
It's like it's perfectly like you could put it on.
Yeah, like I can have it on as like there was no harm in me watching this movie.
It's not.
Like, it's not. It's not as bad as the internet's making it out to be. Like the internet's making it out to be the worst fucking movie ever. But like I don't know. Like it was one of those things I was dreading. I am happy that I ended up watching it finally. Just to experience it, but I don't think I'm ever gonna go back and watch it again. You know, like when I do a Ghostbusters marathon, I don't need to buy this on 4K and be like, I gotta watch it.
You already got the collection, the 3 movies.
Yeah, exactly. Without this one, so yep. All right. So that is our rant/review on Ghostbusters 2016, or Ghostbusters Answer the Call, or the Ghostbusters reboot, or the Ghostbusters remake, whatever the hell you want to call it. Pat, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ThisPatGuy, and you can also find me on YouTube at Agamotto.
All right, you can find me at my official website, alexmanatmovies.mystrikingly.com. All my social media links are there. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. I'm Alex. That's Pat. We'll see you at the movies somewhere.
Slap shot.